Hey guys, welcome back to Reflect Politics. My name is Brendan Plank. If you're new to the channel, I've got a great video for you today of Democratic Representative Joe Neguse running circles around Republican chair of the Budget Committee, Jodie Arrington. Now, I emphasized chair because Jodie Arrington is supposed to be the guy to look to in the Republican Party to understand Trump's tariffs. And as you're about to see, he has no idea how to justify or explain the Trump tariffs.
I love having the opportunity to have the budget ranking member and the budget chairman here so we can talk a bit more about the broader
Why don't you pick on him a little bit?
So, Mr. Arrington, you posted this on X about a year ago. This is in August of 2024. It's a tweet and it says, "Nobody knows how to get an economy running like President Trump." You still believe that?
I believe that President Trump's economic
you still
agenda.
believe that? It's
Yeah.
Not, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You still
And if past his prologue,
Got it.
we're going to have a red-hot economy like we did the first.
Let's talk a bit about the present. So,
Yeah.
what do you describe an economy running well as? How would you describe that? What
I
parameters would you use?
would say,
Would a recession count? Is that
I would say growing the GDP by almost an entire 1% in 2 years after deregulation, tax cuts, work incentives,
it's
good
interesting
energy
that you
policy.
used 2 years because
No,
there's-
in 2 years
I
prior to
understand.
COVID.
It's interesting that
Yeah.
you've used 2 years as the marker
Yeah.
because, of course, as you know, every economist in the country is now predicting that we will have a recession if we are not experiencing one already. I don't know that most Americans, I'm not an economist, but I think most Americans, whether they're in West Texas or in Colorado, they wouldn't describe a recession as an economy running well. I mean, does that make sense? You don't disagree with that? Right?
I think the American people who voted overwhelmingly and every swing state in support of this president said, I don't want any more of the unbridled spending and failed economic policies of the Democrat Party, with all respect, and President Biden. And the inflation that came with it, and the increased debt that came with it, and the depressed economy that came with it.
It sounds like you're defending a recession. I don't get it, honestly.
Oh,
Let's just level with each other. Let's just level with each other.
I'd love to.
Okay? If a Democratic president were in office
Yeah.
and we're taking actions that were causing a recession, you're going to tell me with a straight face you describe that as the economy running well? Let's be serious with each other. You know that.
First of all, there's not a recession. There is the political courage to reset an unfair trade dynamic with the United States, which I hope you would support.
Okay, so
right?
stock market collapsing,
Yeah.
bond market in turmoil, recession on the horizon. None of that, to you, constitutes an economy that isn't running well. That's a fascinating. That's a fascinating position to take. You know what's interesting? Okay, how about this? How would you describe a 1,000-point drop in the stock market? How would you describe it?
I would say the stock market rises and falls. It's more sensitive to changes.
Rises and falls. Okay,
it's
so
more
here's a
sensitive to. Can I just complete my thought?
You answered it. You said rises and falls.
Changes in policies.
Sure.
And a tremendous shift, I think you would agree,
Yep.
with the policies of the last administration.
Okay.
And where this president wants to take our country.
Is it a big deal or not? I mean, a filibuster.
Which one?
A 1,000-point drop in the stock market. How would you describe that?
I
to your
think
constituents?
it's going to be a much bigger deal when the stock market over the long run improves along with this economy and along with the worker wages.
That's not what you were saying last year.
That's
not what you were.
Tell me what I
explain it to
said
you.
last year.
So last year, here's a statement.
Yeah,
a press
please.
release from the House Budget Committee. Chairman Arrington on the drop in financial markets and the fiscal decline of the Biden-Harris administration's economy. When the stock market dropped 1,000 points several years ago, you rushed to bemoan President Biden's actions and the economy that he was presiding over. You condemned it. Now the stock market drops 1,000 points every day for the last week, and you claim it's the economy running well. Do you understand why that would be a tough argument?
Yeah,
for the
but I
American
can
people
explain it to you.
understand?
Yeah, I can explain it to you. Because you had consistently bad fiscal and economic policies that resulted in persistently bad economic environment for the American people, mainly 40-year high inflation. So this is year after year, quarter after quarter,
Got it.
and we're talking about the first 2 or 3 months of Trump's administration, where we're transitioning from that from that failed agenda.
I get it.
To one that's going to put us in a place of a stronger position.
So you want to give him some time. I get it. So 1,000-point drop in the stock market, bond markets collapsing, recession on the horizon. At what point, let's say there's a depression.
Yeah.
At that point, would I be able to get your commitment that you'd say, I don't agree with the president's policies? How far are you willing to go? It's an honest question, because we are likely to have a recession here, again, if we're not experiencing one already in the next couple months. How much pain are the people of West Texas willing to tolerate? Is a depression enough?
Well, I'm glad you asked me about my people, because I can speak about West Texans. They're thinking about the next generation of farmers and ranchers.
Sure.
And they know that the current conditions and relationship that is just completely and totally unfair will bankrupt the farmers of the future. Secondly, the people.
It sounds like the answer is there's no limit.
The people,
you haven't answered the question.
The people of West Texas will tell you, the day you wake up and you have to beg another country for your food and for your energy, like we have to beg for our drugs to be made and computer chips, you tell me what you would pay to avoid that for your children. And I know you love your children as much as I do. You tell me that there's no courage in this town to do what the president's doing. And we all recognize there's some transition and discomfort and pain. No one's denying that.
What you describe as a transition and discomfort,
yes.
Economists describe as a recession.
Yeah, well.
Job loss.
Yeah.
Prices going up.
Yeah.
401ks vanishing. That's what I mean, I understand the words you're using.
Yeah.
Discomfort, transition.
Yes.
Those don't mean much to the people of Colorado that I represent, who are going to be on the front lines of ultimately being impacted by the disastrous.
How did they feel about the discomfort of the 21% regressive inflation tax? No, how did they feel about that? I shouldn't be asking you the question.
Mr. Chair, but I always love our give and take.
Okay.
Let's talk about that.
All right.
You would agree trade is an important priority for the future growth of our economy?
100%.
Okay. Do you agree with the president's tariffs?
I agree with the reciprocal trade policies that treat the products of other countries the same they treat our products.
Part of the reason why I said
yes, I agree.
Exactly.
I agree with the reciprocal trade. Yes,
exactly.
yes.
So you agree?
Yes.
Okay. Do you
100%.
agree? Do you agree with President Trump's tariff formula? Like, do you think it makes sense?
Reciprocal trade formula.
The formula that he articulated earlier this week. Do you believe that it makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain it?
Yes.
Explain it to us.
The products from the United States that go into countries, the top 20 of which have twice the tariff and non-tariff barriers, actually just the tariff barriers, a 2-to-1 basically tax on our products. If you're talking about agriculture, it's 3-to-1. Those are the top 20 markets that we work with and compete with.
Sure.
And so
you understand that most economists, multiple economists, have described the formula that was adopted as nonsensical, as making no economic sense. And of course, the reason is because there are a variety of different contributors to trade deficits. You concede that.
Like tariffs, non-tariff barriers,
including capital
taxes,
flows, including supply
currency
chains,
manipulation. Yeah, there's
comparative advantage, geography. So the formula they constructed is not one that's been defensible by virtually any economist.
I disagree with that completely.
It meets the chairman's definition.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It makes total sense that you would take tariffs, VAT and border taxes, technical and quota barriers, manipulation of currency, stealing our IP. At what point are we going to agree as Americans, forget party politics, when are we going to agree that we're not going to let other countries take advantage of this nation and to hurt our manufacturers and farmers?
Have you seen how these tariffs have been received in West Texas?
Man, our guys get the sacrifice on the front end for our future and for their children.
Okay.
My guys are all in to support this president.
Well,
I say that unequivocally.
The articles I'm reading.
Yeah.
Fox, West Texas, tariffs expected to hit West Texas coffee drinkers, construction companies. West Texas soybean farmer expresses thoughts and concerns about upcoming tariffs. I understand cotton farming is big in West Texas.
The biggest in the world.
Biggest in the world. Wall Street Journal, tariffs unraveled. Cotton prices. Boy, I mean, the tune that you're singing and that your colleagues are singing seems awfully different than certainly the farmers in my district that I represent. As you know, I represent a rural district in northwestern Colorado, and I can tell you that these tariffs are going to hit our community very, very hard. I want to just ask one last question.
Yeah.
And because I know I appreciate the chairwoman's indulgence. My last question is simple. I appreciate that you engage in intellectually honest debate and your willingness to come before this committee. And I assume you'd agree with me that debating these matters is really important for the American people. Right?
Absolutely, 100%.
I
enjoy
Madam
too.
Chair, I'm getting to it. What was that?
I enjoy the real debate as well.
As do I. Leader Jeffries has proposed to the Speaker that they debate on the floor the merits of this bill. Do you agree that the Speaker ought to just do that so the American people can better understand the bill?
I believe debate is an important part of the democratic process.
Will you tell the Speaker so that he could accept Leader Jeffries'
I'll share
invitation?
that and send your love and respect.
All right.
So much to unpack there. First off, Arrington trying to lay the charm on Neguse and smiling and winking at him after he just got totally destroyed in a debate by Neguse for 10 minutes is pretty pathetic, especially since that debate is costing Americans trillions of dollars. But it's all fun and games to Jodie Arrington. It's all just a laughing matter. Now, Arrington winked at Joe Neguse after Neguse tried to get Arrington to send the message to Mike Johnson that he should take Hakeem Jeffries up on his offer to debate Trump's tariffs on the House floor, which I doubt will happen because after seeing the budget chairman try to debate these tariffs, it's very clear that the Republican Party doesn't know what they're doing. They don't know how to defend these tariffs. And so for Mike Johnson to do that on the House floor with 1,000 times the people watching, then, the amount of people watching the House Rules Committee, it would be a bad idea for Mike Johnson. And when it comes to the Republican Party and trying to defend their actions, doing it in front of a lot of people is often a bad idea. That's why they go on to Fox News and they go on to their very curated Republican right-wing media outlets so that they can have a friendly person challenging them, which never happens, of course. Another great moment was when Joe Neguse brought up a number of West Texans who Jodie Arrington represents, who have come out and complained about the Trump tariffs. This is right after Arrington was saying that his people are all in for Trump. And Neguse just very easily said, no, they're not. I mean, Arrington and these Republicans are going to face a midterm election in less than 2 years. And it is astonishing that they continue to just ride Donald Trump, thinking that he's going to take them to the promised land. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens to this Republican Party in the near future and, leading up to these midterm elections as this economy continues to tank and as they see their polling numbers in the House of Representatives tank as well. I mean, that's all these people care about is just holding on to their seats. So that'll really dictate if and when the Republican Party starts to turn against Donald Trump. And when that happens, well, all hell is going to break loose because we've already seen that these people are willing to go to great measures to try to hold on to power, willing to lie, willing to deceive voters. It's really, nothing's off limits when it comes to the Republican Party. And then, of course, he talked about he tried to blame the inflation under Joe Biden, the first 2 years of Joe Biden's term, as if that was the thing that Trump's tariffs are trying to change. They're trying to right that wrong, when that inflation rate, the 40-year high, was because of how Donald Trump mishandled COVID. And if you look at the inflation numbers in the last 2 years of the Biden administration, you'll see that it was coming down because of the changes that Joe Biden made. And that's what happens time and time again when you have a Republican in the White House who destroys the economy like Bush and Trump did, and then you have a Democrat who comes in and tries to right that wrong. But all in all, a very terrible moment for Republicans, Donald Trump, and the country here, because it's very clear that they can't explain these tariffs. They can't explain the formula for the tariffs. And when they try to, they just get angry and used heightened rhetoric. And that means that we are all in a very bad place when Donald Trump, the guy who's the worst of the worst when it comes to being backed into corners and then just using lies and rhetoric to try to get out of it, when he's the guy who's making these decisions. But let me know what your reflections are down in the comments below, what you thought of Joe Neguse and the Republican chair, Jodie Arrington, debating Trump's tariffs. And if you haven't subscribed to Reflect Politics yet, be sure to do so that you get my videos delivered straight to you. Thanks for watching. Once again, my name is Brendan Plank. Hope to see you in the next video.